I know some of you are getting very nervous as we get closer and closer to Election Day 2020, and so many polls are showing that Vice Presidential candidate Biden, former Vice President Biden, is up in the polls against President Trump. National average 10 points in many polls, and in some swing states, arguably also up. And so people are getting very anxious. How could these polls square with what everyone sees happening in America? I mentioned the other day in this show, the polls don't square with the reality on the ground. The number of times you will see a Biden rally or a Biden boat parade or a Biden parade with more than 3 cars in it is almost nothing. You see Trump boat parades. This is just obviously anecdotal or observational evidence, but you see Trump boat parades, Trump parades, streets in cities all over this country. The enthusiasm is endless. When he was in the hospital with COVID, you saw people outside the hospital just there to wish him well, to let him know we're thinking of him. So you have those kind of observational polls. But I think you should get to count in the polls the NBA stats. I'll remind you again, the NBA missed a lot of the season because of COVID and then came back to do a portion of their season. And in the most recent NBA, this is National Basketball Association, ladies, NBA Finals, the number of people who watched the final game, and if you are sports fans, as we are in our house, the NBA Finals, we never missed them. We didn't used to miss them. Same with NFL, same with college sports. But the NBA has chosen to go all radical, all in on Black Lives Matter, very, very willing and committed to be just as radically supportive of Black Lives Matter, painted on the court floor. So here are a few numbers about the NBA Finals. The NBA had a huge NBA Finals game. It was down. The number of people viewing this game down by 70%, 7-0 over previous years. If you get this, this is Game 6, sixth and final game of the NBA Finals. Game 6 drew at its absolute highest numbers just a tiny bit over 6 million people. And if you think that sounds like a lot, take into consideration, for example, Game 6 last year, 2019 Game 6 NBA Finals, that had 18.34 million viewers. Over 3 times as many viewers watched the same game last year. And this year we're at a point when many people are not working. We've had starvation of the for sports fans who haven't had NFL, haven't had NBA. You finally have games coming on, people dying to watch games, and they won't do it. They're so aggravated, so disgusted with the NBA's commitment to the radical Marxist Black Lives Matter movement, they will not watch. They will not watch. This is a poll, I'm telling you, every bit as valid as the polls the pollsters take around this country, talking about, who it is that, talking about all these players, the NBA people such as a big voice, LeBron James, coming out very, very supportive of Black Lives Matter, weighing in on cases before he had the facts straight, never correcting himself after the facts proved that there was not really the problem he said there was. So you have America saying no thank you to LeBron James, no thank you to the NBA. Contrast that, if you remember, one of the famous quotes by Michael Jordan, also, world class, one of the best players ever in basketball, who famously said, when all the politics started surrounding Colin Kaepernick and surrounding the Nike shoes and the players become more and more political, Michael Jordan's famous statement was, Republicans buy sneakers too. Yes, they do. Half of America or more is so disgusted with the NBA that they will not watch, even in this sports-starved time, and this time when many people are sitting around the house with nothing to do because their businesses are still socially distancing, or they shut down, they don't have a business anymore, plenty of spare time in their hands, will not watch the NBA. I count that as a poll. But another and more serious point on the polling, and I am serious about that, anecdotal evidence does mean something. Many polls can be ignored. Many polls, if we dive in, as you often on the show, dive in, you see, well, the pollsters actually included in who they polled, 2/3 or more Democrats, which then obviously accounts for the outcome. But the other really important polling or information to focus on is what is happening with the Electoral College. And the reason I'm doing this today in this first 5, I think there is just a tornado of determination on the left to make Trump voters, Trump supporters, feel beleaguered, to surrender, to give up, to assume there's just no way. Look at all the numbers. Biden is up by so much. We might as well give it up and go home. There is a determination on the left to dishearten the Trump supporters. And I want to encourage you, there's no reason to be disheartened. Ignore those polls, look at life, look at reality, and for a moment with me, look at what has happened with the Electoral College. This data I'm going to give you, you can go to our website, americacanwetalk.org, and on that homepage, under shows, drop down list of links, you can read this article. It's full of information. Basically, the conclusion of all this information is, at the end of the day, obviously, the way we choose our president is through the Electoral College. And on Electoral College numbers, in 2016, Trump won by winning battleground states that few expected him to win. He did that then in 2016. Right now, he's polling slightly and relatively better in those swing states than he did 4 years ago. So the swing states that went with Trump last time, but it was close, he's doing even better this year in his race against Biden, or it's really not against Biden, it's against Harris or whoever really is going to run the country, because Biden is not capable of running the country. But you have all sorts of showing how Trump in 2020, his performance polls in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Arizona, North Carolina, all compared to his 2016 polling performance. And 100 days out from this election, Biden was up by 6 points in battleground states. At a time, Clinton was only up 2.3. Now he's only up 4.9 points. At a time, Clinton was up by 5.1. If you lost track of that data, the point being, the closer we get to election day, the worse Biden is doing, even compared with how Clinton did against Trump 4 years ago. I can give you a bunch of other data, but the bottom line of it is, do not get drawn in and upset and alarmed by the polling. Yes, Republicans have to work hard. Yes, Trump is going to throw his heart and soul into this next fewer than 4 weeks, 3+ weeks, in getting Americans in the swing states recognizing what is at stake in this election cycle. He is going to just campaign. He's going to have rallies. He's going to talk to the people in the same way he did in 2016. And Hillary Clinton stayed home in 2016 because she thought she was just had that election in the bag, thought nothing, she didn't have to make any effort in the swing states. And Biden doing a tiny bit more than Hillary Clinton did, often calling it a day, though, by around 10 in the morning and done for the day for different reasons. He isn't campaigning because he doesn't have the mental faculties to stay in this race and fight the way Trump can fight. Please, Trump voters, do not start to think that there is some big deficit. The deficit or the challenge we have in polling is not honest what the pollsters are telling you. Your eyes are telling you the truth about the size of the rallies, the size of the crowds every time Trump goes anywhere, the enthusiasm for him while he was in the hospital, and the simple reality that in the Electoral College polling, Trump is doing just fine. Read that article, read the numbers. He's doing just fine. At the end of the day, presidential election, that's all that matters, is the Electoral College. And that, my very fine friends, is today's First Five.